welcome to the Be the Ultimate Assistant podcast with Bonnie and Vicki. Hello, everyone. I'm Vicki Sokol-Evans.
And I'm Bonnie Low-Kramen. Welcome, everyone.
Hey, Bonnie. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I can't wait. I've been looking forward to this episode. We have a jam-packed episode today, so we might as well get started. Do you want to set the stage?
Absolutely. Our subject today is building the ultimate partnership. We're going to do 2 episodes. Part 1 is going to focus on the executive and what makes for a great relationship between an executive and their assistant. What can they expect their assistant to do and like that. Part 2 will be focusing on the assistant, pulling back the curtain on what's inside an executive's head. What do they need to do to really build this strategic business partnership that will make both their lives a dream. And we couldn't have a better person to talk about this subject, could we, Vicki?
Well, you're absolutely right, Bonnie. And we are so fortunate to have a world-famous entrepreneur. He is consultant to the President in the United Nations and a very dear friend to us and to assistants all around the world. It's Mr. Jeff Hoffman, who is a successful entrepreneur, proven CEO, worldwide motivational speaker, Hollywood film producer, a producer of a Grammy-winning jazz album, which I currently own. I have it. And in his career, he has been the founder of multiple startups. He has been the CEO of both public and private companies, and he has served as a senior executive in many capacities. Jeff has been part of a number of well-known companies, including Priceline.com, Ubid.com, CTI, ColorJar, and many more. We've personally shared the stage with Jeff when he was the keynote speaker at the Behind Every Leader conference for the past 4 events. He is an absolute audience favorite, to say the least, and we have witnessed firsthand assistants raising their hands in the audience to be his assistant. In fact, lining up after he spoke just to talk to him about the opportunity to be his assistant. We even took a photo, which we'll definitely post here on the podcast page. He's the most generous person we know with his time and mentorship to others all around the world, and we are so fortunate to have him here today with us. Welcome, Jeff Hoffman.
Thank you very much. I'm very thrilled to be here with you guys today.
We're so excited.
What an honor. All right. Well, Jeff, it's so great to have you here. So tell us, you've been traveling the world coaching entrepreneurs. Can you just fill us in on what you've been doing and what part of the planet have you been on, Jeff?
Well, I have to tell you, pretty much all of it. My most recent string of travel mentoring entrepreneurs was I just did a run through Israel, India, Pakistan, and Russia before joining you guys today. So I've been kind of going from continent to continent, mentoring where I can.
Wow. Well, and all of that requires a lot of coordination. And we've heard you say, Jeff, that your assistant Lori was the best executive assistant you ever worked with. If you had a group of executives sitting around right now listening to you, what would you tell them about what made her so extraordinary? What did the two of you have together?
You know, I think that probably one of the single most important characteristics was anticipation. Normally an executive assistant is waiting for us to tell them what needs to be done, right? And they go off and work on that, work on the next thing. What made Lori the most valuable executive assistant I've ever had was that before he ever asked for anything, she would take time to look ahead on the calendar, look at the things I'm working on, think about where we're headed, and try to anticipate things. So frequently, by the time I asked Lori, we need to get this done, she said, yeah, I'm almost finished. And I said, I didn't ask you to do it yet. She said, yes, but based on everything I've been watching and listening to, I knew you were going to, so I started it anyway.
Right.
So
okay.
Can I ask you, Jeff, real quick, if there is an executive out there that wants a partnership like that or wants an EA that, just like Lori, anticipates and uses that level, that skill level, how do they encourage them to do that? How do they get them to anticipate? I mean, do they need to have a conversation? Do they need to set the expectation in a job description? I mean, obviously she just did it. she took the initiative. But if they're not taking the initiative, how can the executive help help produce that level of anticipation?
I think the answer to that question is to open your door wider. And let me explain what I mean by that. As executives, we get very, very busy. We have, quote, important stuff to do. We call our assistant for the things that we need our assistant for, but that's clearly not everything. And what I started to do was, like I said, open the door wider. I would be headed to a marketing meeting. Marketing department has an assistant. There's nothing that I needed my assistant, Lori, for that meeting. But I would stop by on the way out and say, you're welcome to sit in on the marketing meeting, even though I don't need you to do anything. And she would jump at every opportunity. Because what she realized was the more I learn about the whole business, not just the things I'm asked to do, the more effective I'll be as an assistant. So it got to the point when I started opening the door and saying, you're more than welcome to sit in on this, even though you don't have to and you won't be asked to do anything. She started asking them, would it be okay if I joined you guys on this international expansion meeting? I know you don't need me, but could I just sit in the back quietly and take notes and listen and learn something? So I think that's the key to launching that partnership and that skill set for anticipating your needs is to leave the door open and allow your assistant to be part of things that you don't actually need your assistant for, so that they have an opportunity to better understand the business and to sort of broaden their own horizons. I think that's where it started for us.
Oh, that's fabulous. So, Jeff, we heard Vicki say at the top that at Bell we literally saw assistants lining up to speak with you and to volunteer and ask if you needed an assistant. How does that happen? What does an executive need to do to inspire that kind of loyalty and commitment to a leader and to the company? What makes that phenomenon happen?
Here's what I think it is. Employment is traditionally a one-way street. I'm the boss, you're the assistant. I have a list of things that I want to get done that I give you to do. And it's true with all positions. I hire people to do work for me in my company. And excuse me, CEOs frequently, executives frequently think of the companies as more of a representation of them and their image. And that's where I think it goes wrong. What we did that was successful was make employment a two-way street. Instead of me just hiring you and saying, you're my new assistant and here's a list of things you need to do for me, we always took the time to say, what are you taking this job for? What do you want out of this career? What is your definition of growth and success for you? And what path do you want to be on? An example would be, Lori came to me one day and said, I know I don't work in marketing. I'm your executive assistant, but I've always been fascinated by marketing, and I'd love to learn more about it. So I took it on a mission whenever I didn't need Lori for something else to give her a chance to go learn more about marketing. So the answer to the question is what builds loyalty is making the job a partnership by making it a two-way street. I don't just say, here's what you need to do for me. I ask my assistant, what can I do for you? What do you want to learn? What experiences do you want to have? How do you want to grow? And I'll make sure that I create those opportunities for you. So we had very loyal employees over the year because they always told us that we appreciate that you ask us what we're trying to do, not just what you're trying to do, and you make sure that we get opportunities to grow instead of just helping you grow.
Perfect. And that leads me to this next question about professional development, that in so many companies, training does exist for all areas of the company, with the exception of specific training for the administrative staff, which is still a pretty new idea in 2015. What do you make of that, Jeff? And in this current workplace environment around the world, what is your position about offering training for the administrative staff?
Well, again, if your goal is to enable everyone that works in your organization to have a chance to grow and develop according to their personal chart, then it's an absolute requirement. We always give people the opportunity. The good thing is, I see there's so many, as you said, with the new paradigm of education, which is being online, what I would call the democracy of information. There's so much access to education that's online, either free or cheap, and it's less, intrusive than leaving for a long time for a class and not being in the office. That still happens too. My employees always seek out educational opportunities on the own and come back to me and say, I want to take this online thing as an example. Do you mind paying for it? But yeah, I think it's absolutely critical to continue to allow your employees to grow and develop themselves, and you benefit from it anyway. The broader their horizons are, the more skills they develop.
Yeah. We've seen a lot of, well, Vicki and I have done a lot of first-time training just in these last couple of years. It seems like it's changing, and you know, it's a very smart thing to do, clearly. I want to switch gears for a minute because we've talked over time about the workplace bullying epidemic that's present around the world. And I remember asking you, you know, you've been in, oh my gosh, 140 countries or whatever, and you confirmed that you see it. And you told me a story that I've never forgotten about a company in London that you bought. Could you share that story with our listeners, Jeff?
Absolutely. I was just amazed. We acquired a company. We bought a company in London. And I went over there, you know, what we would like to do is keep the current executive and executive assistant staff in place because we don't live in London, and it'd be nice to have them continue to run their company, which, you know, again, we had just acquired. But I went over to the other company, to the office, and the atmosphere was like death warmed over. People didn't speak, people didn't smile, and I was trying to comprehend what was going on and why people were like that. And it turned out that it was bullying by the chief executive. He had pretty much threatened people with their jobs to, one, support his bad habits, which in this particular case included not only dating his executive assistant and taking her on trips, but then coming home and having her send flowers to his wife so to keep her happy. And when she told me that, she burst into tears. And I said, how on earth could you ever do that? And she said, because there aren't jobs in our area, and I can't pay my rent and feed my children if I lose this job. And he just tells me, I'll fire you if you tell anybody ever what we've been doing. And when I walked in, she burst into tears, and the whole rest of the place did. And I said, what's going on? And they said, we all know. He thinks we don't know. We know what he's doing with his assistant, with his wife, with everything. And we hate being here every day, but we need our jobs too. The entire environment was completely toxic because the bully was the boss, and the victims were the executive assistants, and nobody could afford to speak up. There was no one to speak to. He was the boss. If they spoke to HR, he would fire HR. So what a horrendous, you just never think about it kind of situation. Needless to say, it took me something like 27 seconds to stuff him in his car and eject him from the company permanently. And it was like a party. It was like when the Wicked Witch dies.
Yeah.
Everybody was dancing and singing, but bullying is real, and it happens every day, and employees don't know how to handle it or what they're supposed to do or what to return to.
Well, I remember you told me what the president of the company said to you when you went in there, and I recall that you asked him, is this true? You told him what the staff told you, and you asked him, is this true? And what did he say back to you? That he felt completely justified, and that he said to you something to the effect of, well, of course I speak to them like that. That's how I keep them in line.
Well, yeah, that is absolutely true. Not only did he feel justified, but he felt like it was really none of anybody's business prior to that. It's my company, I own it, and I'm the boss, and I will do what I want, and if they don't like it, they don't have to work here. And you know, I told him that the way he speaks to them is completely unacceptable, and he said, if you want obedient employees that focus on their work and don't goof off, or gossip or whatever, that's what you do. So he thought it was justified. He thought that a reign of terror was the best way to keep employees quiet and busy. Just do your job, because if you speak up, you'll lose it. Unbelievable, but it happens all over today still.
Yeah, so here we have, hopefully listening to this podcast, many entrepreneurs and executives. What do you say to them about reigning with terror and workplace bullying that we see all over the world? What do you, as someone who's so respected among them, what do you say to them, Jeff, please? Say we have executives sitting here right now. What do you say to them about this issue of workplace bullying that's going on around the world? What is your message to them?
The executives is absolutely zero tolerance. There's no situation in which it's acceptable, not to mention the fact that it's illegal, but much more importantly, it's unethical and immoral. And even if you don't care about any of that, you would think an executive would at least have self-preservation. You're not going to win in the marketplace. The only kind of employees who are going to stay with you are the ones who think they're not employable anywhere else. All the talent is going to leave. So it's wrong in every possible way, and it needs to cease immediately.
Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, it's just crazy that, given that that's the truth, it's still such a problem. And Jeff, seriously, why do you think it is such a problem? Given it, even if it's, you talk about self-preservation and all, why is it still such a huge problem?
Well, I think that, we culturally create that problem by fawning over, executives and CEOs, and we make business celebrities and give them a sense of sort of, invulnerability and invincibility by like they're really that special. We just see that sort of God complex happen too often with successful or high-ranking executives, and it's damaging to everybody. And the fact is you are not irreplaceable, and even more so, you didn't have the success yourself. The only reason you as an executive are standing in a place of success is because the team in front of you executed your vision. You can't do it alone anyway. So it's when executives lose sight of that and start thinking me, and I'm the reason for all the success, that they start to behave in a very sort of Machiavellian way, which is, again, completely unacceptable.
Well, I certainly want to thank you for sharing those messages with executives.
Yeah, I just thought of another question, completely 180-degree different transition. Because we have an executive's perspective, one of the most popular questions we get in our 2-day classes is, there are a lot of assistants out there who want to do more for their executive, and one of the things that it's been really challenging for some executives to give up is the calendaring and scheduling, and so I think maybe if there's any advice you could give to a leader about relinquishing some of the control over the things that the assistant can take care of so that they can focus on what matters most. Is there any advice on for the leaders about the benefits of that, of just letting go?
Absolutely. The model, we call it practicing at the top of your license, and let me explain where that came from. I was sitting with a very highly rated heart surgeon one day talking business innovation. But he said, meet me in my office. And we went in the office, and he was busy pecking away on a computer. And I said, what are you doing? And he said, taking care of scheduling and some administrative stuff. And I said, aren't you a licensed heart surgeon? He said, I am. And he said, this stuff has to get done. And I said, but why are you doing it? You're a licensed heart surgeon. And he said, because it has to get done. And I said, let me ask you a question. I said, when does this business really hum? When does it make money? When is it most successful? What drives the measurement of the business? He said, me doing heart surgery. And I said, then you should design your life so that you maximize the amount of time that you are doing heart surgeries and you minimize the amount of time that you are doing anything else. And that's why we came up with that phrase, practice at the top of your license. If you're a licensed heart surgeon, then do heart surgeries because that's what makes your business hum. And quit doing Outlook and meetings and emails and all the other things that somebody could do for you. An executive is the same way. Figure out the most valuable thing you do with your time and stop doing everything else. Let your team handle it.
Bravo.
Love it.
Thank you.
Love it.
On behalf of all the EAs out there that struggle with that, of having or letting their executive hand over that project, we appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Bonnie, are we ready for the final question for Jeff?
Yeah, as we wrap up this part one of this episode, Jeff, what are 3 practical things that executives can do today to improve the relationship with their EA?
Sure. The first one was to include them more at times when you don't need them. Give your EA a chance to get a broader view of your life and your responsibilities instead of only calling them when you need them. They'll be better able to help you the more they understand what needs to get done and what obstacles or challenges that you're facing. Second one was more regularly scheduled feedback. What we tend to do is we have times during the year when we do, when we do reviews and we get formal feedback, but you have to wait till the end of the year or your scheduled review for that. Likewise, we certainly talk when there's a problem. Hey, we call, get in here, something's messed up. What's very helpful is to have just regularly scheduled communications, even if all you say is, nothing this week, thanks, everything's going great. So having a feedback loop that's more consistent, or being able to say right now, hey, yesterday wasn't such a good day, let's talk about it. So I think regularly scheduled feedback instead of annual feedback or event-driven feedback, meaning we only talk when there's a problem, when I need something, I think is a really good way to strengthen that relationship as well. And then I think the third thing, again, is instead of always talking about what you need, take time to ask your EA what they need. What is something you wish you could learn? What is a skill you want to develop? What is an area you'd like to grow into? And add that to your list of things to do to give your EA opportunities for their career and their personal development to happen, not just yours.
Perfect. Love it.
Fantastic.
Great advice.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yes. Well, I want to thank you on behalf of Bonnie and myself and all of our listeners. I want to thank you, Jeff, for this amazing time together. We will post ways that you can reach out to Jeff. We definitely encourage you to watch his TED Talks, and he has a book called Scale, which I've read cover to cover and love it, How to Scale Your Business. He's also on Twitter at Speaker Jeff is his Twitter handle. We'll be sure to include all those links below. And Jeff, do you have a final quote for anyone, like a favorite quote? Because we certainly have a quote from you that we could always mention.
I don't think I have a favorite quote that's directly, I'll tell you the one that's on my mind lately, but it's not as much related to this.
Oh, tell us.
Yeah. It's a sign I saw not that long ago in my life, but for some reason it's been resonating with me a lot. I did an event with firefighters recently where they lost one of their firefighters trying to save somebody's life, and it brought it back home to me again. But the quote was, that I saw on a sign somewhere one day, said, "You may be successful, but will you matter?" And it made me stop and think that, our definition of success is a lot of things that don't matter. It's money and sort of career and business and financial things that make you, quote, successful, but they don't make you matter. Mattering is whether or not you did things along the way to that success that made the lives of people around you better. So that's the quote that resonates with me lately, is you may be successful, but will you matter? Because mattering requires caring about something bigger than yourself.
Wow. I love that. It actually relates to the quote that we were going to say, one of your quotes from your keynotes presentation. Bonnie, do you want to say it?
Yeah, I had taken this down from the last time we heard you. This is classic Jeff Hoffman. Spend time building a culture and a workplace that no one wants to leave. The best team wins. Love it. Thank you, Jeff Hoffman.
Thank you, Jeff. So this concludes today's episode. We'd love your feedback, topic ideas, and questions. Visit the podcast page at betheultimateassistant.com. Thank you once again to our guest, Jeff Hoffman, and to you for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye, Bonnie.
Bye, Vicki. Bye, Jeff.
Bye.